Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Cheers. It's getting late in the day. Been busy. Got another coat of stain on the bonsai staging. Not orchid stuff, I know, but that ties me up for a while, so we've got that done. And now in here I'm doing battle with gale force winds, basically. There's stuff bending right over, and I do worry about that tree, I must admit. It's moving. I can see it moving at the base, so goodness knows what's happening at the top. But if it goes over, I've sent out my warning shots that it's not safe. If it goes over and takes the shed out and the decking and everything else, it's, you know, okay, it's my problem because all my stuff's in the shed, but you know what I mean. Right, so this is 2022 Project Orchids, the final look, plant number 4. Now it's the same, nearly the same format as before. We'll be starting by pulling the clips out from March, the initial look, update 1 in May, update 2 in July and update 3 in September. There will be a difference at the end of this one. You'll have to watch to find out, won't you? Let's get it going. Okay, you have to excuse the rain. That's one thing I can't do anything about. Now the first one is Dendrobium coriniferum. Now this is a black hair type that I decided to mount. The logic with that is that my black hair types don't do that well because of my low temperatures in the winter. At that particular point in time, it's very, very easy to rot the roots because the plants effectively stop growing in the winter and as such are not using up moisture and things in the pot. So it's very easy to get too much water around the roots in the winter time with these at my temperatures. You know, if I could go up 3 or 4 degrees, they wouldn't slow up and therefore it would be fine in a pot. But I thought I'd try one on a mount, and I had some rot issues, this is a while back now, and lost a couple of canes. They got cut off, but the 2 canes you see here were grown last year and they've carried on growing through the winter, albeit incredibly slowly. So we have some dieback at the front end of the cane. Yeah, we will look into that. When you get leaf tips going brown or black, 9 times out of 10 you're looking at a nutrient issue, and basically it can't be that many, not with that type of signs. But the other cane hasn't got it, but what both canes have got are buds. Yeah, so we've got a couple of buds coming there, and tucked deep down inside the tip of there, probably only one. This won't be the first time it's bloomed. It did bloom on the previous set of canes. But what I would hope from this, following blooming, when the temperatures rise, we've already got the day lengths. We're back over 11 hours now, so we've got comfortable day lengths for these sorts of plants. We need some temperatures, and at that time I would expect some new growths to start. Now some plants won't start new growths while they're in bloom, and some don't care one way or the other. It's the environment that triggers the new growths rather than, you know, they take no notice of whether they're in bloom or not. With this one I'm not sure. I haven't had it long enough. I've only had it, you know, through the one season with the blooms. The one thing that is common with all black hair types that I know of is the blooms are very long lasting. So we can expect this one to be in bloom possibly by the next update, which is in May. Hopefully not finished blooming by then, I wouldn't imagine, because it's going to be a couple of weeks before these buds open, and they are long lasting. I think they're at least 2 months, so we should see this in bloom next time round. So my hopes for this are a successful blooming without bud blast, and the reason I mention bud blast is because my humidity in this place at the moment is a lot lower than in the other place. So there's a lot less humidity around the plants, and I mean a lot less. At the moment we're looking at just over 60%. In my other place it would be 85, 90 at this temperature. And at the moment, during the daytimes, I'm leaving the door open to the lounge to get residual heat in here to save the cost of the heating in here. So I've got to heat the house anyway, which is as well let a bit drift out here and stop the heater and fan kicking on. So that also reduces the humidity a bit. Now, in the not too distant future, I'm obviously going to get Hurricane Hector back out again and raise the humidity. But there's no point in trying to do that while this door is open during the day, because I don't want to be trying to humidify the lounge, do I? So there's a balance to do there. But lower humidity can be a reason for bud blast. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, at the moment we've got buds forming, and I would like to see some new growths in the not too distant future, and a successful blooming. So that's plant number one. So last time we looked at this one, we had a little bit of dieback on the end of this cane. Well, that's finished. It's not going to die back anymore. Got a feeling. No, that's the original leaf with the brown tip. We had tiny little bud, or I thought a single bud at the time on this cane. That's developed into two lovely blooms. These will last an absolute age. They last a long time. And are very, very attractive. I'll come back and try and focus on that. The other cane basically has finished growing now and produced its two buds. It's a pity that cane hangs down, because obviously we can't see these blooms. There is no signs of new growths yet. Now that might be later, after the blooms perhaps start to fade. But this is a strange one, because last year's canes grew through the winter, slowly but surely. And if that's the case, then if the new growths start quite late in the season, it won't matter so much. So we'll see how we go with that. Right, and the next thing I'll do is see if I can do a quick focus on this thing. I can touch the screen, see if it will focus in on that. They are very attractive blooms, and they're sort of frilly inside the lip. So well worth having, no fragrance that I can detect, but long lasting and an interesting shape and interesting colours on the lip, and definitely inside the lip. Life found it's a blackbird just run down the roof. It's actually got hobnail boots on by the sounds of it. Okay, that's a quick update on that one, and we'll revisit that one when I start update 2 for the Project Orchids. So here we go with what this one looks like in July, and quite honestly the only real change is the fact that the blooms have finished. They finished about 4 or 5 days ago. Long lasting blooms. Now what I'm hoping is to see some action on the plant, because this plant has done no growing. Yeah, once those canes finish, they produce the buds and produce the blooms, and nothing else has happened, and it's still not happening, but then the blooms have only just finished. There's a very slight showing of white, as though some roots are starting, but what should happen now is there should be a flush of growth, and that should be new growths and new roots. So need to keep this one hydrated now, so that will encourage it to sort of move, and we'll see if it gets going. As I said, all I can hope for with this one is new roots, new root system, or extend the root system, and some new growths. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, having just picked this plant up, this plant now becomes an emergency of sorts. It's failing. It's failing in as much as this cane is shrivelling and its leaves are starting to go. Now on old canes you could sort of accept that, but this is a black hair type, that shouldn't be happening that quickly. This cane over here looks like it's following suit, and a while back I thought, well, we've got 2 new growths coming, one here and one here. Well, that one's failed. That's not going to grow. That one failed. there's not much sign of root life here, so this is not a happy plant. This is failing right now. Roots are going dark. These are papery. There's no substance left in this root system. So this has got to come off its mount now, like probably later today or tomorrow, and I'm going to try it in a pot. It's done reasonable on a mount, but it's not done well. When I first got it, it had strong canes, it grew new canes, but a couple of new growths have failed along the way, and it's not really replaced its original root system. So it needs help now, otherwise it's going to totally fail. And there are signs of some new roots near that new growth. So it's now or never, I think, otherwise I'm going to lose this plant completely. And I don't want to do that. I've never seen it for sale before or after. And I really like the blooms, and they're long lasting. So as I said, that becomes an emergency from now on. So next time we see this plant, something will have been done about it. It will either be on its way to recovery or it will be missing. One of the two. Those are the choices plants get here. You either try and you make it, or you try and fail, in which case you're no longer with us. So yeah, first failure, I would say, out of the Project Orchids. Not doing well at all, this one. So we will have a go at it and see if we can pull it back. So there we go then. We can't be successful at everything. And when we first started this in March, plants were chosen not for their ability to make it through the year, but because there would be something to talk about throughout the year. And well, as you saw, this one didn't make it till the end of the year. It's a black hair type, and I do struggle with them, and that's one of the ones that failed. So it ceased to be, as they say. And we'll come up with plant number 5 in the not too distant future. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time.